I'm joined by Reid Phillips, one of the 10 candidates for the Vail Town Council election coming up this November. And we're going to just have a little conversation, try and learn a little bit about who Reid is. So Reid, in that vein, briefly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, Mark, I will try to cover my years in Vail, but 29 years ago I moved here to take a job with Ski Club Vail. I actually knew the director at the time, and he knew me through ski racing and brought me in to run the women's program. And I remember when I first moved to town, it was kind of coming back to a place that I knew well. I'd been coming to Vail as a child. My aunt worked for Vail Associates Realty back in the late 60s and all the way through the 70s and 80s. So we'd come and visit my Aunt Judy and ski, and then we owned a family ranch up in the River Road near Burns for 19 years. So this area, and certainly the town of Vail, I watched it evolve from that kind of early beginnings all the way to what it became. But when I first moved here 29 years ago, I was excited. I was coming back to ski coaching was something that I had done at the University of Colorado. I'd been a ski racer then and a ski coach, and started to build my life in the Valley. And it's been kind of a long, fun ride. You know, I met a local girl that had moved here herself when she was 10, and we got married and we started raising our daughters. And now I have two high school girls, but yeah, that's kind of a brief of who I am. I think I go through the standard kind of ski bum almost evolution.
Let's do, yeah.
I remember the first 2 years when I lived in Vail, I lived in a walk-in closet. I paid $200 a month. It was a nice walk-in closet, I have to say that, but that's where I first lived when I moved to the Valley, and I had my main job, and then I did some side work, and certainly over the summers, and that's how I've always been involved in construction. My brothers and I flipped houses when we were in college, and then that's something I did additional side work, and then I slowly built the company that I have now, which is HW Builders, and we're general contracting kind of builders and doing everything from remodels to custom residentials, plus we do a lot of owner's rep work.
So what made you want to run for council?
Well, it's interesting because I've been on PEC for just around 3 years. I came on after kind of the Booth Heights things that happened. They were looking for some new PEC members. I got asked to be on PEC. Travis Coggin, who I worked with on patrol, suggested it. And so on the 3 years of PEC, the one thing I really have learned is kind of the mechanics of the town, and certainly the town government, and how things work and how to find efficiencies and kind of promote positive ideas through the PEC then to council. And the one thing I saw with council is that whatever work we had done before, that's really where it evolves into legislation and then action. And having kind of what I felt like was a good run at PEC. I still feel like we're doing really good things there with planning, the West Vail Master Plan, trying to promote workforce housing, also the environmental side, really working hard on protecting the environment when we can, whether it's Gore Creek or whether it's East Vail, trying to maintain the environmental side. I take the environmental side just as it's just as important to me as the planning side. So from there, I just said, you know what, it's kind of a natural evolution. I want to take an opportunity to try to move up to council.
So, not to cut you short, but and I think this is a good seg, give everyone your quick elevator pitch why someone should vote for you. I mean, I think you touched on that with your experience, but I'll give you the chance to give it out there formally.
Well, I think, my elevator pitch, I think anyone that's going to watch me on PEC or knows me as a person knows that I'm very much, I do as I say. And I think it's really important for me as far as the elevator pitch, there's some critical issues that we're facing in the near term. Obviously, workforce housing is front and foremost, and trying to find a way to increase that, but doing it in a viable, responsible way that's sustainable. I also feel that we could do a much better job maybe working with our neighboring communities to promote some of that workforce housing. Because, yeah, we are going to run out of square footage here in Vail proper to house all the employees we need. On top of that, I do feel that my platform, or at least my elevator pitch, is I'm very focused on bringing the experience back to the local workforce and back to the local residents. I think when you and I first got to the Valley, we had this thriving kind of workforce, young group of people that loved to work here. They enjoyed working here. Their employees were able to take really good care of them. And it was a great place. We stayed for the people, not necessarily for the mountain. We stayed for the people of our community. And I want to return some of that energy and support our locals, whether it's trying to find some parking for our commuter workforce and our local workforce, or trying to make sure that bus service is consistent to get them here. So I think for me, it is local centric. I don't feel like we can deliver any kind of guest experience without a happy, thriving workforce that wants to deliver that and enjoys working here. No one's gone into a restaurant and really enjoyed a salty waiter that can barely make a living, can't pay for his parking, and can't get a bus home. So the people delivering that guest service, we need to make sure they're thriving as well.
What are you doing to get your message out?
So, I mean, for me, it's always been face-to-face, direct conversation, trying to meet as many people, talk to as many people that I know that are voting in the Valley. And, the social media, to be honest, I think that's an important part of it. I will tell you that my 14-year-old daughter is my social media manager because she probably understands it better than anyone. But direct communication, because I think there are a bunch of people that social media is just that. It's kind of this detached, you can always put out a message on social media, but when someone has the opportunity to look you in the eyes and have that conversation and ask you questions. So mine is very much boots on the ground for me. They're work boots because I'm in construction, but getting out and talking to as many people as I can and getting my message out and being like, look, you know who I am. And if you don't know who I am, look at some past PEC meetings or talk to other people and say, do you know this Reid Phillips? And I think they'll tell you I'm a pretty honest, straight shooter. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, and that's the premise I want to run on.
One of the questions I have is, have you been politically active in the town before this? And you've already talked about that you're a member of the PEC, and you've been a member of the PEC for a while now.
Yep.
So let me ask a couple, besides that answer, have you participated in any of the community-wide facilitated discussions that we've had for the last bunch of years? Vail Tomorrow, Vail 2020, that was one of the ones that I worked on when I was on council, or that latest stewardship and sustainability plan?
So to be honest, I haven't. And I will say that I am not necessarily, I've been registered as an independent as far as I can remember in the state of Colorado. I do like the format of council being nonpartisan. I think that's critical for us to get anything done. So from, a political standpoint, right or left, I don't really have a stance. But as far as those additional conversations, I've certainly watch them with vigor and try to educate myself on the other opinions that are out there and other approaches to how we're going to continue to make Vail a sustainable town, not a resort. And that's very important to me, is that my daughters, when they come back to visit after college, they're coming back to a town, not a resort.
So what was the last Vail issue that got your blood boiling? And what have you done about it, and what are you going to do about it?
So blood boiling is an interesting, there are certain things that are like, what is going on? How did we come to that decision? And either we're informed or not. Obviously the hot topic is booth heights. Everyone wants to talk about it. And I believe there's so much information with booth heights that we aren't necessarily privy to because it's in legal hands. So, at first it's kind of a head scratcher. Why are we there? Why couldn't we find something different or more amenable or equitable resolution. But not knowing all the pieces and parts, it's hard to comment on that. I will say that I'm not one to get extremely fired up and sit there and yell from the rooftops it's a bad decision, because I just don't think that helps anyone. I think it's better to be part of the solution than the problem, and that's why I joined PEC, because PEC does have a fairly measurable amount of authority in the town to make real proactive decisions that they can then advance to council. So I think the West Vail Master Plan, wanting to make sure that that was executed right. Day-to-day operations, yeah, that I questioned some of the decisions that were made regarding parking last year and the terms of parking and what we were really trying to do. And I hope that that conversation evolves, because I think some of the ideas and what we were trying to do were great, and some of them didn't really achieve what we were trying to do.
So let me give almost the exact opposite, ask you the exact opposite question.
Yeah.
What do you do when your blood is boiling and you want to calm down? What amenities do you take advantage of living in Vail? What do you do when you're not working, doing construction, when you're not spending your many hours on PC?
Well, obviously, I've been a ski patroller on the hill forever, and then being on the hill, whether, there is a certain amount of joy that comes from skiing with your children and my family. So that's a huge relief for me. But I'm definitely an outdoorsman. Everything from, I mountain bike, I ride moto, I love to play men's league hockey in the valley. There's so many things about my town that I really do love, and that's probably another reason why I'm running for council, is that I absolutely love our town. I'm a huge advocate for it, because we come here for the quality of life. I probably could make more money if I lived somewhere else. But for me to live here and have the quality of life and give that to my children, it's about enjoying and going out and experiencing everything, summer, fall, winter, spring, that we have.
One more substantive topic, and then I'll give you a chance to wrap up, because we're approaching the 15 minutes allotted. So do you own any investment property in Vail? And I ask that question because one of the issues that keeps coming up, and when people talk to me about the issues, is short-term rentals in general, and that's happening throughout the West in resort towns, communities, and non-resort communities. So do you own any investment property, and do you?
Nope.
No.
Don't own any
So
investment
then I'm not going to
property.
ask if you rent it long-term or short-term.
No.
But because you're on the PC and you're well-informed, I can ask you, what do you think of the current short-term rental regulations that we have?
Well, my understanding when we kind of came out with the initial regulations is that it was a work in progress. The STR is a short-term rental, and what we're doing there, no one had really done, and it was really in its infancy. What I have done in the meantime is looked at the short-term rental policies for Aspen, for Steamboat, for Summit, for Sun Valley, for Park City, looking at what other communities are doing and looking at their models, whether successful or not. I do think we need a more robust management of our STR system, because I think it has taken a toll on workforce housing. Obviously, we have inventory that's come off the market for the workforce that's gone into STRs, but I think it's something that needs to evolve. Private property rights are private property rights. I support those as much as I do what we need to do for the common good of the community.
Yep. So as we approach the end of our conversation, give you one more chance. There's so few times, that was one of the frustrating things that I found when I was running for council. There's so few times that you get a chance to directly address the voters.
Yeah.
And here's one of those chances. We'll have it again on September 26th at the Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Vail Chamber and Business Association and the Vail Board of Realtors. But here's your chance to give one last pitch, not last pitch, but one direct pitch to the voters on why they should vote for you.
Well, I just think a longtime local, I think it brings a lot of historical knowledge and understanding of the mechanics of the town. I know there are some other candidates that haven't been in town as long, and I do feel like the other thing, and being with PEC has given me an opportunity to really understand the mechanics and how town and the government works. And I think that's super important because I think it gives you some efficiencies moving forward in order to actually get some things accomplished and done. For me, my message is very simple. I'm trying to support that local, whether it's workforce or residents or whatever, and maintain the thriving community that supports our locals, because I don't think without them or even our commuter workforce, we can support this idea of guest service to be a premier destination resort, which is economically how we're all going to thrive. Without that group and supporting them primarily, we can't provide that guest experience. We've done so much focus on the guest experience, we kind of forgot about our resident and workforce experience. So I want to redirect some efforts there. If you believe in my message, I'd love your vote. And if you have any questions, shoot me an Instagram at Reid for Vail. On Instagram's my handle. I haven't had a handle on Instagram before this, I will say that. Or Reid for Town Vail at gmail.com. Just drop me an email or stop me in the street and ask me some questions. Love to have a conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see you.
I really appreciate your time and appreciate your running and the work you've done in the past for the town. Take care.
Thank you.